Welcome to the Birding for Joy podcast, a show about discovering and exploring all the ways birding and wild birds bring joy into our lives. I'm Candi Lynn Fite, your gracious host and joyful birder. If you're curious about learning more about birding for joy, grab your favorite beverage, settle on your perch, and let's get into today's episode. Hello, birdiful friends. If you've listened to Birding for Joy before, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, I am so happy you're here. When this episode hits, it will be the first week of June. Spring migration has wrapped up, and the birds in most of our areas are either busy building nests, nesting and raising young, or already whistling goodbye to their first brood of fledglings, as many species have more than one brood per year. I've been seeing posts on social media about the end of migration and how birders are missing the excitement of the busy spring season. But guess what? The enthusiasm and joy you experience during migration doesn't have to end because it's over. Try thinking about the end of spring migration as the beginning of breeding and nesting season. And what's more joyful than watching a pair of birds building a nest, tending to their nestlings, and then witnessing the fledglings take flight? It's truly one of Mother Nature's finest moments. For most of us in the Northern Hemisphere, summer is quickly approaching or already here. Following a busy spring season, birders sometimes experience a summer slump. Most of the organized bird outings, bird-related festivals, and birding events are over. The summer heat and humidity sets in, and if you have kids out of school for the summer, your busy schedule probably doesn't leave much time for birding. But birding doesn't have to end because it's summer. With a bit of creativity and shifting our outlook, we can still experience our birding bliss. To celebrate this month, the first podversary of Birding for Joy, I am doing a spontaneous summer series, all to be released in, are you ready for this? The next 10 days. Each short and tweet episode will feature a summer birding idea. After the series, I will take a break to prepare for Season 3 of the podcast. The exact date for Season 3 will be announced soon. Here is the first episode of the short and tweet summer series. It's titled Befriend Your Resident Birds, the Hows and Why. There is no better time than summer to become acquainted with your permanent resident birds. During the busy migration seasons, our resident birds are sometimes overlooked. They don't get the recognition and the appreciation they deserve. For each of us, our resident birds will vary. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the phrase resident bird, this means the species of birds who do not migrate. They remain in a specific area, and they have learned to forage for food, find water, shelter, breed, and nest in these locations. Now, if by definition the word befriend means to make friends, become friendly with, act as a friend, help, or give aid to, then we can apply this in context to our resident birds. The best way to befriend them would be to help them with their survival needs. On my property, there are loads of northern cardinals, 365 days a year, rain or shine, sweltering or freezing. On their good days and their bad days, they are ever present. They show up daily, flitting about the yard, stopping at my feeders, plucking off insects, playing in the bird bath, chirping, singing, and entertaining me with joy and delight from sunup to sundown. The same goes for Carolina wrens, Carolina chickadees, tufted titmice, plus other year-round species such as several woodpecker species, mourning doves, crows, blue jays, hawks, owls, and many more. Now, last June, I had made it a point to get to know my resident birds. Because I was relatively new to birding, I had to rely heavily on the free Merlin Bird ID app for identification, which in turn also helped me learn the bird song or calls for each of these species. My other resources for bird ID were location-specific bird books and the internet. Once I identified the birds around me, I learned their needs to survive, their food, water, and shelter. And that's it. Birds need 3 things, and if you provide them, they will come. When it comes to food, you can offer species-specific mixes and various feeders throughout the yard. However, this method can be quite pricey. So to help you supplement your feeders, you can lean into planting more native plants. Many of your resident birds are either native to your region or have taken up residence because they've been able to adapt to and depend on the native plants in your area and/or the insects that are attracted to these plants. Native plants are the foundation for a biodiverse landscape of any region. When you incorporate natives into your landscape, this not only saves you on watering, but also creates a low-maintenance, harmonious habitat for wildlife, insects, and the land. Many of the native trees and shrubs will also provide shelter and nesting locations for your resident birds. If you're able, you can opt to leave a few dead trees for the cavity nesters, and maybe a brush pile or 2 at the edge of the yard for birds to seek shelter when needed. If you're a hands-on kind of birder, you can do some research and provide species-specific nesting boxes during nesting season. The Audubon.org website features a native plant finder using your zip code. Not only will it give you a list of native trees, shrubs, grasses, and plants for your area, but it also lists the species of birds that might be attracted to each plant. Now, if you live in Canada, birdgardens.ca offers some great resources that make it easy for you to design and plant a garden that is great for birds. I will add a link to both of these sites in the show notes. And last but not least, you need to provide fresh water for the birds. This can be as simple as a shallow dish filled daily with fresh water, or as elaborate as a concrete fountain with a circulating pump. Bird baths come in multiple sizes, shapes, and materials. I provide 4 water sources, 2 of them being just regular bird baths. One has a solar bubbler, the other without. And then I have a ceramic shallow dish about 18 inches off the ground, and 1 concrete bird bath topper sitting directly on the ground. That one is for the squirrels and the bunnies. Of course, the birds use all 4 of them. And I'm currently working on a water garden with the fountain sprinkler with the hopes that the hummingbirds will utilize it. Now we know how to befriend our resident birds, but why is it important? Besides the immense joy that we receive by having birds in our lives daily, the most important reason for creating a bird-friendly habitat in your yard is that it helps create a biodiverse landscape all year long. A few bird species are pollinators. Some are seed spreaders, but many of them are voracious insect eaters, keeping the bug world checked and balanced. With natural habitats disappearing at a very rapid rate and habitat fragmentation, the birds need our help. So there you have it, the hows and the why of befriending your resident birds. And trust me, when you create a habitat for your resident birds this summer, come fall, winter, and next spring, the migratory birds will flock to it as well. Now tune in Sunday for the second short and tweet summer episode, all about the delightful summer hummers. I will share the rest of the summer series on Instagram at Birding for Joy. That's all for now. I hope you all have a birdiful day. If you are enjoying the Birding for Joy podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to the show. Subscribing and tuning in to the episodes lets the algorithm on each platform know the podcast is providing you worthwhile content. It also helps ensure the success of the show. Remember, the absolute best way to support your favorite podcast is by word of mouth. So make sure to share Birding for Joy with others who might enjoy listening. That way, we continue to build a joyful birding community. As always, thank you for tuning in and stay chirpy, my friends.